Thank you very much for letting me know that you weren't hearing me. Hopefully now you can hear me. Can I ask you just to raise your hand if you can? There's a little hand button that allows you to do that, just so that you can tell me that you can hear me. Thank you very much appreciated. Thank you for letting me know. So welcome to the webinar. I did say a couple of minutes ago that I was going to make this as short and sweet as possible for you, whilst at the same time as packing in as much useful information as possible. And the information is useful in that it's based on real practical experience, not only of when I was practicing as a solicitor, but also from a £2 million plus spend on legal services. That's not only for law firm websites, but for legal services websites I've run for myself in the past, which I no longer do, but which gave me amazing insights and allowed me to test my theories and put them into practice. So everything I share with you today is based on real practical experience, not just huff or puff or fluff. It's based on what I've done, what has worked and what hasn't worked. So it does have merit, and if you follow it, it will make a big difference. So I'm going to talk about how you can get more inquiries, how you can get more clients from those inquiries, and more of both of the above. I've also got an offer for you at the end to get something completely free of charge, but which is worth thousands, which is to get your own bespoke website marketing critique, where I'll tell you exactly what you need to do to make your website better. I'll explain how to do that shortly. Now I have a simple test for you which applies to all marketing, and it's something you can use not only just for your website but also anytime you're being sold marketing, whether the marketing is peacocks or elephants. And there's basically two types of marketing: good marketing and bad marketing. Good marketing is where you present yourself in front of a potential client at the exact moment in time that they're looking to buy legal services. Obviously they're highly motivated to find a solicitor. You pop up in front of them. If you do things right, then you get the results. Bad marketing is where someone's going out of their way to do something else. They're looking at Facebook, for example, they're watching TV ads, they're reading a newspaper, and you try and jump up and down in front of them and get them to use your legal services when they're not motivated to do so. And I use this diagram to illustrate the point. When the peacock wants to mate, he fans its tail, allows the female to come over. That is good marketing. He stands there, doesn't have to do too much, finds someone at the right time. But the elephant is a little bit more forthright, and he interrupts someone and tries to put his way about them, which is the interruption marketing. So if ever you're being sold some sort of marketing, particularly if you're being cold emailed, spam called, told that if you don't go and take this advertising, your competitor will, I guarantee you're being sold elephant marketing, you're being sold bad marketing. Don't waste your money. Wait until you're doing peacock marketing. And the good thing is that website stuff is good marketing, because if someone goes to Google, types in what they're looking for, finds your website, likes what they see, gets in touch, they are a perfect client for you. They're ready to go. So it's why websites are such an effective form of marketing for law firms. The other thing to bear in mind, and these are pre-points, on your website or in any of your marketing is a moody Tom, as I call it, and best summarized by a colleague I used to work with, who would go off to court, come back and spend 10 minutes telling me how good he was, how the client thought he was brilliant, the judge thought he was brilliant, he thought he was brilliant. After a while would come up for air and go, oh, sorry Nick, enough about me, what do you think of me? And then wanted me to tell him how good I thought he was as well. So there is a tendency for law firms to make this mistake on their website and talk too much about the law firm and too little about where the client is at that moment in time that they found them. And ideally, I think the split is 80% talking about the client and their problem, and 20% then knitting in how you can help the client with that problem and why you're the best firm to do so. If you get that split right, the 80-20 split, then it makes a substantial difference the amount of inquiries you'll get from your website. That's why I mentioned it at the start, but it also applies to all of your marketing. So let's have a look at some practical things you can do. Some of them are really simple, but please don't think that that doesn't mean they're important. These are some of the things these are the most important things you can do, which will instantly generate more inquiries from your website. And the first one is a very obvious one, but tell people what you do. If you're a solicitor's firm, tell them that you're solicitors, and do that right beneath the logo on the left-hand side where it should be. If it's not on the left, it's in the wrong place. No doubt your website designer told you to put it there because he wanted to do something different, but it needs to be on the left-hand side, and immediately beneath it, it must say the word solicitors if that's what you are. This is a badge of honor, a great selling point, and something that gives the client peace of mind whether or not they actually think about it. That seeing the word solicitors there, it gives them the peace of mind to know they're in the right place and they've landed in the right section. They can take it to the next level. Secondly, what is it you want me to do? Once you've gone to the trouble of getting someone to your website, they've found your website, they've landed on it, they've read about you, if you're at the point that they're thinking, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to get in touch with this firm, I'm going to give you my contact details, the mistake that most firms then make is to do nothing. The client gets to the bottom of the page, starts reading, thinks okay, and there's nothing there. And you might say, well, they can go up to the top, or they can click the contact button. You have to make it supremely easy for clients to get in touch with you. That means you have to spell out exactly what they should do to get in touch. So please call us on this number, fill in the free inquiry form, or email us. No cost or obligation. We'll be able to tell you if we can help you. If you don't do that, I guarantee you are missing chances. And I've had people that have just taken this one point, gone through every service page on their website, added all the contact information at the bottom of every page, and immediately started getting inquiries from their website on a daily basis when before they were getting none. So as I say, it's one of those simple changes that can make a substantial difference. So have a look at your website. Use this as a checklist when you go back through it. Have a look at your website and see if you're making that mistake, because it can make a big difference. The next thing is, if someone's looking for a solicitor, then they're going to be, subconsciously or otherwise, looking for information to confirm that you really are good at what you do. And so I developed my 2-minute trust builder based on, at the time, you had roughly an average of 2 minutes to convince someone that you were the right law firm for them. Now, as I look at Google Analytics far too much to be healthy, I've noticed over the last couple of years, this time has actually gone down to about 87 seconds, so a minute and a half. So you've got less time. So it's even more important that you make the client's job easy, and that is that they can see you are the right firm for them. So the two parts to the 2-minute trust builder: you must show that you've got depth of expertise. So amount of pages per area serviced. So if we're talking about employment law, I want to see 5 or 10 pages within the employment law section for me to believe, okay, yeah, it does look like you do quite a bit of this. I mean, if we look at, if we go back to this one, then you could see there's 1 page within the section. If you could see 5 or 6 within there, then you're much more likely to believe that this is a good area of expertise for the firm, and therefore a good firm for me. And the next part is depth of content on the page, and you're looking for at least 400 words, which tells Google enough about what the content is covering, but also tells your users. And I was speaking with a firm of solicitors not so long ago, and I've had this chat several times, and I said, well, there's no content on your pages, there's sort of 1 paragraph. They said, oh yeah, we're not falling into that trap of putting loads of content which no one reads onto our page, we know better. And the problem with that is twofold. One is that no one will ever find that website because there's not enough information for Google to assess what the page is about. But more importantly, if someone does find it, they'll go straight off it onto the next one, because if you don't explain to the client how good you are, why you're good, and match that to their needs, you're never going to get any inquiries. So those 2 things are really important. And if some people like me are skim readers, they'll look at subheadlines, images, subheadings, headings, bullet points, then they'll get in touch. Other people want to read every single word on the page before they get in touch with you. So you cover both by having that dual readership path and breaking up the content to appeal to both of those. The next part, and this is equally as important if not more, is as well as showing that you're experts by the amount of content you've got, you then show people that you're experts by what other people say about you. So have you got any specific qualifications in your area of law? Have you been covered by the press? Have you got books or articles published? And those items are best displayed on the right-hand side beneath something we'll touch on later, so that someone's looking, as they're reading the content in the middle of the page, they can see that you've got all these endorsements, and if they click on the images that represent those endorsements or press coverage, they're taken to a page which explains, and this is the important thing where most firms fail, they go to a page on your website, don't send them off your website, and on that page you explain why having Lexcel accreditation makes you a better law firm for this client. So you give them in detail what it means to them, why are they getting a better service because you have got Lexcel, why are they getting a better service because you've got STEP accreditation. Explain in real terms how that means to the client they're getting an expert. And as I say, most firms don't do that, so that's really crucial. I've put testimonials all there because terminology has changed, much as it's not now 2 minutes to get on a website, it's 90 seconds to convince someone. Most people are used to now reading reviews, so I suggest you call your client reviews as opposed to testimonials. And again, they need to be on the right-hand side of each page, so someone sees that someone has gone to you, you've helped them, and done a great job for them. And a final point there, volume helped. And if you've been around for a long time, then just the sheer volume of people you've helped does give peace of mind. So, for example, on the claims company that I used to have an involvement in, the number of people helped is at the top. That's the number of inquiries handled. That gives someone peace of mind that, okay, they must have done something right to have helped that many people at this stage. So if you're a big firm or a small firm that's dealt with a number of niche matters, it's worth putting that up there. We're trying to convince someone that you are the right firm for them. So that's the 2-minute trust builder. And I mentioned your accreditations. The key thing then is to link off to a page within the section that allows someone to read more about them. How do you get more people onto your website? And this is something that's most people miss, but is crucial. But if I show you an example, because we've got Google AdWords at the top here, so these people paying to be in this position. And as a side note, I don't go into it now, but if you need more clients and you've got a half-decent website, Google AdWords is the fastest way to get clients to your website, and it is one of the most effective forms of good attraction peacock marketing, because someone is looking for you at that time. And most of my successful clients, and I'm lucky to work with a lot of really good law firms, use Google AdWords a lot or to a certain extent because they work. So I run Google AdWords campaigns for a lot of solicitors, and if you want to talk about that, we can later. But what I wanted to show you on here is I've searched for solicitors Reading, and if you are lucky that someone goes past these initial searches, and the more targeted the search term is, the more likely it is. So the longer the search term, if I went, how do I find the fastest conveyancing solicitor in Reading, and you had an article specifically answering that, there'd be more chance of me coming to you. But the reason I wanted to touch on this is the line you see at the top here is the title tag. That is taken from your website, and the 2 lines below is your description tag. That is also taken from your website. And the reason I say it's important that you sell people onto your website is if you've gone to the trouble and you've managed to get to the top of the Google organic listings, if you have given no thought to these, then you've got very little chance of actually getting someone onto your website. So for example, Boys Turn here, full service law firm, Reading, Thames Valley Solicitors. What does that mean to a client? Full service law firm. Is that a threat? Can I get my card on there? I'm not sure. I'm a layman. I don't understand. And then down here is a multi-award winning full service UK law firm based in Reading at the heart of the Thames Valley. Acts of businesses ranging from, and then it's run out because they don't know how many characters they've got. So it is so important that you give thought to your title tags and description tags on every page. And most firms don't, because that is you selling someone onto your website. And as I say, if you've gone to all that trouble of getting results and people finding your advertisements on Google, you've got to do the final bit and get them onto your website. Now, as I said, I'm keeping today short, but if you claim one of the reviews at the end of this webinar, I will show you how to find this information on your website and how to fix it, because, again, it's one of those things that can make a very big, fast difference. So sell me onto your website. And you won't be surprised to see that for my own marketing, I've used leading capitals because I know it works better, so I've got my keywords in there, and that gets me a lot of visitors. I'll show you how to do it. Some other keyword tricks in terms of if you're quite active and you're often looking for blog posts or new content ideas, there's 2 tools that I will happily show you on your review, which I use to find lots of keyword ideas, and they both work brilliantly. So again, I want to keep this limited to about 30-40 minutes, so I will show you those on a one-to-one if you claim one at the end. This one is a biggie. I know there's lots of biggies on here, but this one I learned by mistake of not doing it. So for the first few years of my claims company, I didn't do what I'm going to tell you to do now. Then I did it and found that the inquiries increased by sort of almost 3-fold. What is this magic ingredient? It's a simple inquiry form, and it's a case of making that prominent. So I recommend that's your right column there. As I talked to you earlier about, you have a right-hand column that tells you, why you should choose us. It gives you feedback, your reviews, and it gives you any endorsements, press coverage, etc. And you might notice, and I'll cover this point while I'm on the site, that it's on the page, it stays there on every page, but when you click on free claim inquiry, which goes throughout the content, you get to a separate form, slightly longer, in the middle of the page. You might think, why bother doing that? Because it's already on the right-hand side. 60% of people then fill in the form from that button on the main inquiry form as opposed to on the right-hand side. So my advice is that you can have an inquiry form on the right, or you can have a click through to it, but at the bottom of every page, as I said, you have to tell someone exactly what they should do. Call this number, or from a mobile, click that button, or click the free claim inquiry, or click that button. Spelling out to people what they need to do, it leads to a dramatic increase in the volume of inquiries you get from your website. So it is well worth doing. So once you've got that form, as I said, you've got to, sorry, that was total number of people helped. I'll come back to the Genie later. Once you've got that form, you've got to flaunt it. And you'll notice that Amazon does this well in that the Buy Now button is in the right-hand side, top right, top to middle right, because that's where you want you to add it to the basket and make a purchase. And it's there for the right reason, which is why the inquiry form you'll find is top right, and that button, which is another pop-up to get the Genie working, is in that position, because that's the call to action section. So don't try and re-engineer what Amazon's found out, because I think they've probably got a slightly bigger marketing budget than me and you put together, or all of us. So make use of that and make sure you've got a call to action in that position. Final point, I hope none of you are making this mistake, but if you publish any sort of pricing on your website, stop it. I work with a major provider of services, and overnight they put an instant price on their website, and overnight the phone stopped ringing. If you put your price on the website, you become a price comparison cart, and there's enough of that nonsense out there at the moment. You don't need to add to it. I'll come on to this in the meantime, but the purpose of your website is not to sell your legal services. That might sound contradictory, and as I say, I'll explain what I mean in the next section. But if you're publishing prices on your website, test taking it off, stress that the first inquiry is free, and see what a difference it makes. It can be dramatic. Right, I said I'd cover this, more clients from your inquiries. The only purpose of your website is not to sell your legal services, it is to sell the first contact with you, whether that be through filling in an inquiry form or picking up the phone and speaking with you or sending an email. That is the only purpose of your website. So often firms try and sell the whole service from a page, which doesn't work. So you are just trying to sell that first contact. When you have that first contact, you then will sell the next stage, whether that's a fixed fee service or whether it's a first meeting. That's when you sell the next stage. But if your website is currently trying to do the whole job for you, you've got to change that, because people should only be sold on picking up the phone and speaking with you. Once you've got them on the phone, you can quickly assess whether they've got a good claim or not, a good inquiry for you or not, and deal with it appropriately. But if you try and vet your clients before they get to you, you end up stopping making your phone ringing. So please do bear that in mind. When it comes to the phone, excuse me, one of the best things you can do, if you're a small firm, literally a handful of you, this is essential. If you're a big firm, this is essential. Basically, it's essential whatever size firm you are. Another best thing you can do to get more work from people already getting in touch with you is to outsource your all initial calls to a call center. I'm happy to recommend one if you want to contact me, but I have yet to find a firm that answers initial calls sufficiently well to make it financially viable. It is cheaper to outsource it, have a call center that has 8 or 10 people ready to answer the phone instead of one maybe reluctant receptionist or 2 backup receptionists that again are reluctant. You will be losing business, so you can spend all this money doing brilliant marketing, make your website work. Your phone rings. In some cases, I hear it goes to voicemail for an initial call, which won't work. They'll go somewhere else. Or it gets an engaged tone, which again means they'll go somewhere else. So all of the work you've done on making your website better now, you've just wasted it because no one's picking up the phone. So I strongly advise you to have a look at outsourcing your call handling, because then you're able to track all of the inquiries coming through, see how effective your marketing is, and then work on improving it. If you're doing it all in-house, you will be missing that tracking ability, and it is vital that you can track every lead coming in. So outsourcing call handling. Finally, to get more clients from the inquiries coming through to you, this is a key point. You have to follow up relentlessly. And I've worked with clients that have tripled their number of client instructions received from the inquiries they were already receiving just by following up. And this isn't a case of hard sell following up, it's a case of phoning up a few days later saying, just checking, you got my email, you got my letter, any questions? That's it. And you keep doing that until they tell you, yes, I'm ready to go ahead, or no, actually I've gone somewhere else. If they say the latter, then you find out why. What did you do wrong? And I can promise you, it is very rarely about price, even if they say it is. If they say it's about price, it means you haven't done your job and found out what mattered to your client. You haven't had what I call the meaningful conversation, where you go into detail about not the legal subject, which is lawyers' normal area, but you go into detail about what matters to the client. Why is this house purchase so important to the client? Why is setting up a will to protect their loved ones so important? Who are their loved ones? What do they care about protecting them from? If it's business related, what will the impact be on their business if they don't get this contract drafted correctly? That's the job of the meaningful conversation. I've got a whole printed blueprint available about that. If you'd like information about that, let me know. But it's a massive call. So if you do that right and then you follow up, it's very rarely going to be about price, because you'll have found out what matters to the client and you'll have linked your service to that. How to get more inquiries and more clients. Some simple things for you here. Your hourly rate is something like what's on the screen. And it amazes me how often I hear solicitors telling me that they're doing their own website, they're writing their own website content, they're doing their own Google Adwords, they're doing their own brochure design on some sort of dreadful Word Microsoft publishing tool. And they're not doing their hourly rate because they're doing that when they could outsource everything for £25 an hour, £50 an hour, a lot less than they're paying. It's a total false economy to try and do it all yourself. And the number of solicitors I talk to that still try and do this, if you get it done properly, it's cheaper and it's done faster, and it's not waiting for you to do it when you're not so busy. So outsourcing is a good trick. If you're ever in the position of needing a new website, now I don't offer website design services, but I would stress, please contact me before you contact any design companies, because I can give you a website design brief precedent, which will allow you to quickly put down exactly what your website needs to have, so that when you go to a website design company, you can get a fixed price quote which won't change. The reason most web design quotes change, and I did used to do a lot of web design, is because the spec changes because the client hasn't thought through what they want. I would be able to tell you exactly what you need, and then you can go and get a fixed price quote. And I also know a lot of web design companies now who I can introduce you to, some who charge a small monthly fee, some who charge an upfront fee, and that's it, and everything else in between. But if you're getting a new website, don't do what a lot of firms I've seen do, which is take the old one down. Something is better than nothing. Keep it up, get a new design with the current content, and then add to the content. If you try and do it all at once, it won't happen and it will take forever. And so often web design projects take months instead of weeks because people fail to follow this plan. This is a very simple plan. It works, and it's based on my last 13, 14 years of doing this. Part 4, some tools to make your life even easier and faster. Easy ways to get clients. And live chat's great if you've got the time to action it, and it can be useful, but the trouble is, obviously, it only works when you turn it on, and most solicitors I see use live chat try and run it themselves, which goes against the argument I said earlier about outsourcing. And for the first week, they'll turn it on every day and answer every question. Then they stop turning it on so much, then stop turning it on at all. So that's the biggest problem with it. Now, there is a source which I can introduce you to, which does managed live chat 24 hours a day. And that means a real person will answer anyone's questions. There's more than one person available. It's a very good source. It does cost a bit more, but it can work very efficiently. And then there's a third option, which I designed to sort of get around both problems, which is totally automated. And that's called your website Genie. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 6 days a year. And it gets more inquiries from people already finding your website. So if you're having any volume, and I mean anything over a few hundred visits a month, adding your website Genie gets you more inquiries on your website without you having to do anything else. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes to set up, and you can access a £1 a month trial for 3 months. Excuse me. Simply by going to your website, genie.co.uk. So there's 3 ways you can get that. If you're interested in the managed live chat, email me. I'll introduce you to them. You might think that's strange that I recommend a competitor. Well, there's different people, different budgets. Your website, Genie, is £20 a month. Live chat that's 24/7 managed is going to be a few £100s a month. I designed the Genie to give something to somebody that would make a big difference, give them a return on investment very easily, but doesn't break the bank. So I've given you lots of information soon, and I'm going to give you something else for the first 10 that take me up on this offer. Changes you can make to generate more inquiries, generating more clients' instructions from those inquiries, and ways that you can get more people to come to you just by using software. So I like those because they're all easy. As I say, what I'd ask you to do is, if you've watched this live, watch it again and just tick off each of the points and go through your website and make sure you're not making these mistakes and make the changes. They're tried and tested, and they have made substantial difference to a large volume of law firms. Test the software. Yes, I'm biased with your website, Genie, but it's £1 a month for 3 months. Within 3 months, you can say, have I had more inquiries? Have some of them turned into clients? Yes, they have. Okay, I'll carry on. No, they haven't. Well, I'll stop. That's as simple as that. It takes seconds to set up. I'll even get it set up for you. And then, as I said, I want to offer some of you an easy out, which is say, yeah, Nick, I could watch the webinar again. I could get in touch with you and do all of this stuff you say, but it'd be much easier if you just told me step by step what to do, and I'm happy to do that. And that will be one-on-one, me and you, looking at your website, telling you what you need to do, showing you how to do it, giving you suppliers that can help you do it, doing the whole lot for you, making it as simple as possible. Why? Because nothing annoys me more than someone coming to me with a website they spent thousands on without talking to me, and it's rubbish. And that happens a substantial amount, because sadly, most web design companies don't know what they're doing. And I don't say that loosely. That's based on having done this for 13, 14 years and constantly going up and picking up the pieces when web design companies made a complete hash of some law firms' websites. So I try and avoid that by telling you exactly how to do it properly. And this is how you need to request that meeting with the one-on-one with me online, like this, but with you on the other end and me showing you exactly what you need to do. I can even record it for you. And it's worth thousands of pounds to you because it's based on everything I know, and it will just mean within 20-30 minutes you knowing exactly what you need to do to make your website work. If it means later on you come back to me and say, okay, Nick, my website's working now, run a Google AdWords campaign to me, or I'm going to put the Genie on it now that you've told me exactly what I need to do, great. If it means that you don't speak to me again, that's fine too. As long as I've saved another solicitor from a web design company that doesn't know what they're doing, I will sleep happily, because this is what I do. So I'm going to close shortly. If there's any questions, please do put your hands up. Let me know. Otherwise, I'll aim to wrap up the webinar. But please, I'll leave those details online for a few more seconds just to let you take them down, get in touch. You can speak to my lovely PA, Christelle, who used to be my legal secretary, and you can ask her to book a time. You can go online and do it at the More Clients Now call reservation link, or you can just email me, whichever is easiest for you. But please do take me up on the offer. Even if you think you've got the best website in the world or the worst website in the world, speak to me and just let me make your life easier, point you in the right direction so that your website can start working harder for you. This is Nick Jervis from Sanson Consulting. Hopefully I will speak with you soon. Thank you for your time.